University.
Hello and welcome to Entertainment of Excellence, the podcast where we talk about films, TV, all of it. I am Ollie.
I'm Thom.
And I'm Ben.
We did practice that time, kind of.
Ooh.
It's groovy. So what we talking about today?
The 1981 film, Heavy Metal, based on the magazine of the same name. One of the, I guess, would it be one of the first adult cartoons? I don't know how many were around at the time.
Certainly one of the first high-profile ones.
Probably. And it's basically just a short hour and a half anthology of quite a lot of animations that are loosely connected by spooky green orb called Lochnar. That basically just embodies evil, I think. I'm going to say that, at least.
Yeah.
So, obviously, as with all anthologies, some are better than others, but we're just going to go through them one by one.
Main ones, isn't there?
There are 6 stories and an overarching loose plot of just this girl being terrorized by the spooky green orb. And it's like, look into me and watch these cool animations, so she does.
Yeah.
Should we just go through them in order?
Yeah.
I should probably bring up a list of what they're actually called, but it doesn't really matter.
Well, so the first main segment was called Harry Canyon.
Yes.
And it's set in a dystopian New York City, and it follows it follows a taxi driver called Harry Canyon.
In the distant year of 2031.
Yeah. And he's going around the city and picks up this girl who suffice to say he finds quite attractive.
Well, he's picked her up because she's running away from a gang.
Yeah.
Because she knows where the spooky Lochnar is. So, and they want it because it's worth a lot of money. So he saves her. They have a bit of a fling, and then they go off to make a deal for the orb for 30,000 made-up currency with a gang. They make the deal. They had agreed on a 50-50 cut, and she's going to kill the taxi driver and turns on him to take all the money, but he kills her first, and that's the end. First one.
Yeah.
And the guy that got the green orb dies.
Oh yeah, because the green. If you touch the green orb, you melt.
Yeah.
Why not?
I actually like this one a lot.
Yeah. This is. Did you say this one was your favourite?
Probably. I just felt like it was just the right length, if you know what I mean. It felt like it explored everything just enough. It didn't really push it like the last one did. Yeah. I just like the setting as well, and
yeah.
I suppose so. I felt maybe the gang could have done with a bit more development, but I guess on the whole, I think when I first watched it, I wasn't sure. Because it's obviously the first one, but actually, it was quite well paced, and it had a lot of subtle things in just to build this dystopian world of the flying drone that comes in and tells him a message, and also the fact that you have to pay the police to investigate crimes.
Yeah.
If you want them solved. That was pretty cool.
I think it was a very good opener. It was it was decently paced. There was enough story to keep you interested, and
The sci-fi elements in this, basically in the whole thing, really, none of the sci-fi elements are very outdated. Although maybe if you're not used to older animations, this animation style might be a bit more difficult to watch. Maybe it's odd. It's kind of actually focuses a lot more on detailed lines, I find. So it kind of suffers maybe the frame rate a bit for that, which can make it clunky. But it worked with this one especially because it looks a lot more gritty, I think. So the dystopian New York comes across pretty well.
yeah, it was very reminiscent
the
of like a comic. So
yeah,
God.
That's what I was going to say.
I was just going to say that the animation style, you know, how it kind of reminds me a bit of Love, Death and Robots in the way that it's an animated anthology. But with that, like each story's got a different animation style. This one's pretty consistent throughout. I do think that I think the setting does work pretty well in this with the way it's animated.
Yeah, it definitely does. I don't think the New York they did change too much, but just the way they animated it made it look really kind of claustrophobic and crowded, I felt, and overbuilt, which I liked. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Did it actually use much metal in that one? I think it might have done with like a laser fight, maybe. I'd be surprised if there wasn't any metal.
Okay, so the next segment is called Den.
Yes.
Follows this geeky whiz kid teenager who who finds is it the Lochnar?
Yep.
Yeah, that transports him to some new place where he transforms into a muscular man with no hair and doesn't need glasses, and so
Doesn't. I didn't notice that. Good old Spider-Man.
yeah, and when he arrives, there's a ritual going on where these like monks are going to be sacrificing this woman to. Really good at this. I've forgotten the name of what they were sacrificing it to.
Well, I assume the Lochnar.
I don't think it was, but
oh, whatever. Okay, whatever they were chanting. But
yeah,
he saves her again. There's another fling.
which is
kind of similar, but this is a lot more fantasy setting, I suppose. It's kind of more primitive weapons and stuff are used.
Yeah,
and he basically gets involved with this ruler who has regenerative powers. To steal the Lochnar from this queen. I would say evil queen just outstanded, but I'm pretty sure that both of them are evil, so it doesn't matter.
yeah.
That was actually some of my favourite scenes. Was just it's only a short segment, but them like sneaking around and getting into the big monster stuff. And they get the orb. And there's a lot of stuff going on. they steal the orb, don't they? What do they end up doing? I can't remember what happens to the orb.
They leave the orb at the end, like they fly away, and it's like, oh well, you could take it to rule over everyone, but
the ruler.
And the point was that even though people leave the Lochnar, its evil still remains. So.
Yes. He could have got back to Earth, but he doesn't. That's it. This one, I felt it definitely had a different tone to the first one because it's a lot more kind of goofy.
Yeah.
But I did actually. It's not too goofy in a bad way. There were bits that I found quite amusing, just because the main character is such like an idiot, and he says a lot of just things that are silly but in a good way.
It's just stupid lines when the Queen wants to Wants to have a fling with him.
What does he say? I can't remember.
It's something like, twice in one day, I must be amazing.
What a lad.
Sure guy.
I feel like I kind of like these first two quite a lot because I think they kind of had more of a message to tell than the other ones. I think they kind of ran
Yeah.
out of ideas as it went along. It's like the first one was saying how it even has power over the most innocent people, and this one was also like even those that leave it can affect them. Then by the end, it's just almost as if I don't know. I don't think it was as impactful as it went along.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's odd because I'm pretty sure all of these stories are taken from the comic. So I think it's just a way of, which ones could they integrate well with the story. So in the third one, I know they had to change the ending to link into the next story, which actually got deleted. So, oh well. But they are they weren't connected at first, but then they put in the Lochnar. So I suppose it makes sense. The first two definitely had a better connection with it.
Yeah.
And also, the first two had a more kind of full story than a few of the others.
Yeah, it was more fleshed out, I guess. I'd certainly say the first two are the best ones. It sort of lost a bit of steam as it went along.
The next one, though, I did like the next one as well.
Yeah.
This is set on a pretty cool-looking spaceship of like two rings, one of them perpendicular to the other. And it's Captain Sternn is on trial. So
handsome but irredeemable scoundrel.
Oh, but well,
that's how
he's basically done all crimes. About 50 times as well. So he's done a lot of crimes. But you find out he's paid someone he pleads not guilty, and he pays someone to witness that he's a good person, but the guy appears to break down on the stand because he's found a little Lochnar, and then he becomes extremely muscular and goes on a rampage, going after try and kill Captain Sternn. So you do get probably actually. I quite liked the chase scene. It didn't suffer as much from the animation that time. And you got to see the space station and the cool little eye drone that was following Captain Sternn. And then you basically find out at the end the captain appears to be cornered. The big hench witness comes forwards, and then the captain goes like, "Oh, yeah, you did good. Here's your payment." And the guy shrinks back down to size, and you realise the captain paid him to do the rampage so he could escape the trial. And then he kills the guy. And basically the orb goes off into space and moves on to the next place. This one was quite short.
Yeah.
But it did well of not taking itself too seriously. Also kind of just showed, like, the evil guy just wins. Sorry. This is one of the few ones where the evil one actually wins, I think.
It barely had any of the Lochnar in it, though, did it? Just kind of
made the guy
he picked it up at the start, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
but
more...
I think it was a very short one, but it was. I did enjoy it. Again, like the last. I don't think any of them. Maybe it didn't take itself too seriously, so pretty funny again, but only very short, which is a feature that the next one also has, which probably not the most one I'm annoyed about being short, but it is what I am annoyed at being short, this next one. So the fourth one, it's called B-17, and it's a damaged B-17 bomber, where most of the crew have died, and you see that the Lochnar is following them, crashes onto the plane, and basically reanimates the dead crew as some like mutant zombie monsters, which you don't actually see all at first. And then one of the remaining crew gets killed by one. In a pretty good scene actually, because most of the film it likes to show off its gore, because that's what it wants to be really. You know, a lot of violence, heavy metal, and all that stuff. But it actually managed to contain itself to help suspense. And then the captain has to try, or the pilot of the ship has to try and deal with these monsters, and then ends up crash landing on an island with a load of other planes that also have the monsters, and that's it. That's literally it. Is that one the shortest one? Do you think? It felt really short.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And it was annoying because I actually thought it was gearing up to be quite a good horror. I was quite surprised really. I was like, actually, that could have been quite a good little horror story, but it just didn't manage get enough time, I think.
It had an abrupt ending, but I think kind of because it was a cliffhanger at the end and it wasn't quite as underdeveloped as the next one.
Yeah.
Which just finished, which kind of just stopped. I kind of do think that they deteriorated as it went along. With the first one's being the best, and then
to the next one though, what did you think of like having the theme in this? Did you think the horror was done well? Because I enjoyed it. But I don't know. What do you think?
In B17?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was done well. It's just it's just a shame it kind of was so short.
Yeah. That was annoying.
The tone in the next one was like a complete 180 though.
Yes. Which I was actually really enjoying. So the next one starts with like a doctor at the Pentagon being abducted by a ship, but also accidentally brings along is it a secretary? They say, yeah, secretary.
Yeah.
That comes in the ship. You find out the doctor was actually an android that the ship was trying to retrieve and fix, but the secretary just kind of got stuck in along the way. And the ship's run by two like stoner aliens and a robot that looks a bit like a mouse. And it's basically just the robot somehow develops a relationship with the secretary in a pretty humorous way, and then the other two just mess around and like do, I guess, space cocaine, just spray it all over the floor, then use their snouts, clear it up. And you're like, okay, this is a cool introduction to these characters. Can't wait to see what happens. So they do a dodgy landing onto the space station. You're like, okay, here we go. The story's about to start, and then it finishes.
Yeah.
That's it. So it felt like
forget about the marriage.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're supposed to get like married and stuff.
Yeah.
But they need a Jewish wedding.
He was asking the robot if he was circumcised.
Yeah, this was probably the funniest one. It felt like you watched the character introduction to a story, and then it finishes. It was really annoying. I was so ready to see these characters. I just wish they'd actually done a story.
It just kind of finished on they'd really roughly landed at a spacecraft, and like the last line was something like "nice landing, man," and then it just ended.
Yeah. It was so annoying. I actually liked the characters.
Did it have the Lochnar in it?
Around the secretary's neck.
Yeah. It was just kind of forcefully put in, I think.
Well, I think it was the Lochnar that made the robot scientist malfunction.
Mm. Oh, yeah.
Because he was like looking at
after...
it. And he goes after the secretary, and then they both get sucked up to the big alien spaceship. And then the last story, I'd say, is definitely the weakest, but it's also the longest. I think most of it suffers mainly from just being an okay story, nothing great, being dragged out a lot. So
Yeah, the start I thought was pretty good with like the Lochnar volcano exploding and mutating all these people that then attack a city with a metal song. This is pretty cool.
yeah,
But then the council of the city want to get this defender who is, I was about to say a teriyaki, but that's correct.
Turret.
A Terrakian to help them, I guess. And then it's basically all about her and trying to kill all these rogue people. But it's really slow paced, and it's annoying because the animation is really cool. Like it's this desert setting with loads of pipes everywhere. I think it was a really critically acclaimed artist that did that one as well. So
Yeah.
again, the design is still good, like all of the ones are. Like even the last one that did nothing, the spaceship was like a smiley face design. It was pretty, but it was just really slow paced. That was the only one I got bored in.
He kind of tries to link with the original story with the astronaut as well, because right at the end the bird comes back down.
Oh yeah.
I'd say it is the weakest one.
Which is a shame because when they're basically in the interlinking bit before this one, the orb says like this is the final tale. We were all really surprised because there was half an hour left, and most of the other ones were about 12 minutes, if that. You know, depending on what the story was. So we're like half an hour that maybe we can actually see where some of the stories fail to develop. We can actually see something, you know, good beefy story, but it just kind of filled the time with nothing.
Felt like it could have been the same length as the other ones and still had, you know, pretty much the same impact.
Yeah, and I'm quite worried because this is the one used on like the cover, so I'm worried this is the favorite one, and I'm gonna get we're all gonna get destroyed by everyone for saying this is the famous one.
Oh yeah, all of our fans.
Our 4 viewers.
Yeah,
Lewis, if you're out there, please leave a comment.
That Taarna doesn't say anything the whole time. So
well, I think
it's just kind of slow.
But it's annoying because the action choices, I think, a lot of them are really cool, but just the animation is a bit clunky, so it just didn't work.
What you said it had the best animation.
No, it had the best like art style and animation, but as in the motion of the animation part. So the art was really good.
Yeah.
But the animation itself, like, I don't know if it was kind of technology at the time. I'm not sure. But you know, she like slices 2 people's heads off, which would be really cool, but it takes about 3 seconds to do.
Yeah.
It's just a bit I don't know. Bit of a shame.
Yeah.
What were your overall thoughts?
Well, I thought as a whole it was enjoyable. Obviously, like the interlinking plot was kind of weak, but it did still work. So I wouldn't really change that.
Mattered really.
It was just to sort of make sure all of the stories are somehow linked to the Lochnar. Yeah, it kind of lost momentum as it went along with the first 2 and being like the best, and the third one still being pretty good. But
yeah,
you know the other ones are still worth your time. Apart from maybe the last one. That if you're gonna go get a drink or go to the toilet, then do it while the last one's playing.
You'd have to get a drink for a long time though.
Yeah, put the kettle on.
For half an hour.
Then like pour it out and put the kettle on again.
I also enjoyed it. It's not something I'd probably usually watch, but I did think it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
I did like the animation as well.
Yeah, I don't usually watch a lot of animated stuff, but that was really good. And I like
Good.
that.
Because I was worried, because I was the one that said we should watch this.
Yeah, well,
And I know that you usually hate cartoons.
I don't hate cartoons. I hate cheesy cartoons. Like this was
Okay.
still cheesy, but like in a good way, in a nostalgic way.
Okay, yeah.
Like in the same way
You
that
also,
like
I mean, the
Blade Runner.
soundtrack was good.
Oh yeah, the soundtrack was really good.
You know, solid metal songs from late 70s, early 80s.
Haha, did you get it? Because the title's heavy metal.
Yes.
did
That was
you
the
also say
idea.
that Elon Musk also really likes it?
Well, maybe because in the like intro section, there's a Corvette in space with an astronaut driving or at the wheel, and it looks exactly like the like model man in the Tesla that they launched on the Falcon Heavy.
Yeah,
Bit suspicious. I
Mr.
don't know.
Musk, you ripped it off. Didn't even give any credit.
Did he? It'd be good if he did.
This is
It's a 6.7 on IMDb.
I think that's it's more of a cult classic, this one. So
Yeah, they don't often get great reviews.
yeah.
well, I think 6.7 is still pretty good.
Let's sort of
But-
agree with that, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's just because it's kind of some of them are a bit odd,
Yeah,
and maybe
I don't think
maybe
so.
because like nowadays the animation hold up as well.
Yeah. I don't really think it's good for like a mainstream audience. I think
Yeah.
you kind of have to be a fan of like comics or like older art styles, and because first of all the stories are a bit cheesy, like in an enjoyable way if you, but you know I don't think like it would be very popular if it was released now. And then the art style again can be enjoyable, but it's really outdated, and you'd need to appreciate it for what it is and not really compare it to current animation.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of like enforced nudity as well, for
Oh,
no
yeah.
real reason.
Yeah.
It doesn't take itself too seriously, but that is true. I think sometimes it thinks that's its image a bit too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was.
Do you think it would have worked? Go on.
No, you go.
I was just gonna say, do you think it would have worked better as a TV show?
Maybe. I mean, I think it would work better as a bi-monthly comic magazine.
Yeah.
Well, the thing
Which
is,
it was.
if it was a TV show, wouldn't like each episode have to be a bit longer? Like you can't really have a 12-minute TV show.
Well, no, because a lot of like Saturday morning cartoons as well are usually 20-minute episodes with 2 stories, or
Or
they
Love,
were
Death
at
and
one point.
Robots.
Yeah, but well, I suppose they didn't really have Netflix.
Yeah,
to
Well,
make
no,
that
but
standard.
I would have thought you'd want at least maybe 20 minutes, but I guess so. I was just thinking that if you were looking for a 20-minute minimum, then maybe you'd need to flesh out the stories more, and it wouldn't necessarily work. But I guess you could have 2 in one go.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it would have been interesting to see that.
I think that could have worked. Like maybe if like the title sequence referenced the Lochnar somehow, rather than having a side plot linking everything. If you just like referenced what the Lochnar was and maybe had a tiny clip from the terrorizing the girl in like the intro, then that would probably be enough to keep everything sort of linked.
yeah, because then if you had a weaker episode, then it wouldn't necessarily make the whole show worse. Whereas if it's a whole film and then half of it's not as good as the other half, then it just kind of brings down the overall score, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the only shame. But I think it comes. I wish there was just an anthology series where all of them were good,
Well,
solidly. Well, are you going to go on inside number 9? I guess most of them are good.
no, I don't think you could do that, but who knows? Apparently, the budget was 9,300,000. The worldwide gross was just over 500,000.
But that will have been box office though.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think it was actually repopularized because of a South Park episode called Major Boobage, which was kind of paid homage to this.
Well, there was certainly
Don't
major
know why they
boobage in
did.
this.
It's actually supposed to be a really good, but it got. I think it actually brought a bit more attention to this film, and because I think it's got the thing of where flops at the box office, but then people watch it later on and
Yeah.
like it again. I can't remember what other. I know of other films, but I can't think of one right now. Oof, yeah, it did.
What was you rate out of 10?
I would give it a solid 6.5.
Yeah,
What
not
do
to
you-
jump on the bandwagon, but I'd do the same.
Yeah, same.
Well,
Makes it easy.
we'll have to update the website.
Ooh.
Which
Have
we-
you added the last episode?
No.
Should we just plug the website?
We haven't updated it since 2018.
There we have it. The latest episode, episode 4.
No, we're gonna have a meeting this weekend and try a few things. Maybe
Yes.
rebrand a little.
We're having a big business meeting.
Business HD for iPad. Or if we could get a big business sponsorship.
Big business. Game is Game Insight?
Yeah,
Game
Game
Insight,
Insight.
please.
If
No
you're on
one's going to
Android,
understand what we're on about.
if you're on Android, it's called Business Deluxe.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So, does anyone have any recommendations?
I don't.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
I've been watching something that's just concluded on Netflix called The Last Dance. And a bit like this, it's not for everyone, I guess, but it is pretty popular on Netflix on the moment.
I checked, it's got a very high review.
Yeah, it's a 9.4 on IMDb.
Do you agree with that?
Well, I'm a bit biased because I'm a massive basketball fan. But I know a lot of documentaries usually get quite high as well.
They do actually, I've noticed that.
But basically, well, it sort of concurrently tells the stories of Jordan's last season for the Bulls, and then also goes back to the start of his career and goes throughout it. But it's not just meant to focus on him, it's meant to focus on the Bulls team as a whole, which is quite interesting because there's a lot of not only players but also the coach had quite a big impact on his career, I guess. Because the coach is Phil Jackson, who won. So basically, the story of Jordan was he went to the NBA, he won 3 championships in a row, and then his dad was killed, so he retired, played professional baseball for a year and a half. He came back again, won another 3 championships in a row, and then he retired in I think 1997 to 8 season, which is where this wraps up in the last episode. He did actually come back again, but it doesn't go on about that. So basically, they did it. They released 2 episodes a week, so it was quite good to structure it like that. I would really recommend it. Not only if you, because it obviously it's about the NBA, but he's probably the biggest athlete of all time, and he had a massive influence on the whole world. So it's really interesting, just because it's all filmed from the 90s, but it's done in a modern way. And I really enjoyed it.
Nice. Actually, remember, I guess I do have some recommend. I've been doing some reading, so I mean it's pretty popular anyway. I read Stardust by Neil Gaiman. I've seen the film before, and then realised that I had it on my bookshelf. So that's pretty good. It's a pretty short. I think it's 200 pages. Like fantasy, but it's supposed to be an homage to pre-Tolkien fantasy, so before everything had a quest. And it's basically about this guy called Thorn. He really likes this girl called, I think, Victoria. And she's like, if you go get that fallen star, then I'll marry you. And then he's like, yeah, all right. And they live in a village called Wall. And if you go through the wall, then it's this mystical land of fairy, loads of cool things. So it's just kind of nice little fantasy that's, I think, it's set in Victorian times.
Oh, I've seen the film of that.
Yeah, it's quite different to your normal. I guess there's not as much kind of, massive medieval action. It's just a little, almost fairy tale like, but slightly more adult. Only a tiny bit, just in the bit it's a bit more dark, but it's pretty funny as well. Got some humorous parts. The only thing is, I think maybe the ending is a bit off in the book, but it was still pretty good. I'd recommend that.
Nice.
Okay.
Very.
I mean, I don't have any recommendations on me, but I might just jump on the bandwagon and say the film of Stardust is also quite good.
Yeah.
It's not the greatest, but it's worth a watch.
What's odd is, you remember the airship that farms lightning. It's got Robert De Niro as the captain. That bit in the book is literally like 1 or 2 pages. They just go on, and Neil Gaiman's like, he remembers those, and then he got off. So I don't know if you have to cut that bit out. I don't know why I would, but that's like a really good part of the film, but it's just not in the book, which is quite interesting.
Yeah.
But the book is good, and the film mainly follows it.
Yeah.
I think. So yeah, do both, read it and watch it.
Should you read it or watch it first?
I mean, you should always read the book first. Come on, everyone knows that.
Is that what you did?
No, but you should.
I mean, I didn't either. I still haven't read it.
Yeah, but that's what you're supposed to do.
So.
Just because I've not done it doesn't mean it's.
Learn from my mistakes, guys.
Yes, please. You should read it first, and then watch it. So you read it, you go, wow, that bit on the airship seemed normal, I don't know what they're talking about. And then you watch it and you're like, oh, there's a... So yeah.
Yeah. Anything else people want to talk about, or should we end it a bit early today?
No, I think we can.
No, I don't think I've got anything.
No, I don't think I have anything either. Okay, so thanks for listening. Again, apologies about the audio, and we'll be having a big business meeting this weekend, so there might be some changes coming up involving the website being updated since 2018.
What?
No, just joking. We're not going to do that. Yeah. So keep an eye on us. Also, share us with your friends and family if you think we're okay. Because
yes, please.
We're trying to get to 10 subscribers. We're on 9.
No face reveal this week.
Oh, that's a shame.
So, yeah, you can find us on Twitter at EOV Podcast, and if you want to talk to us, you can leave a comment or try email us from the blog on the web, from the contact on the website. Otherwise, see you next week. Alright, see you.
Alright, see you.